And now, from Raw and SmackDown to premium live events and retro rewinds, this is WrestleVision.
Hello everybody and welcome back to WrestleVision. My name is Luke and this is the show where we take a look at everything happening in WWE, from Raw and SmackDown to premium live events, creative decisions and all the little details that make wrestling so good. And today we are going to be reviewing SummerSlam Night 1. What did everybody think of SummerSlam Night 1? I mean, for me, gotta be honest with you, was a little underwhelmed. Was a little underwhelmed because I thought that we would get a real barnstorm of a show. And for me, it wasn't quite that. Now, I know that history will tell us that Night 1 is usually outdone by Night 2. That's what history's told us in the last few years, at least, since TKO have taken over from WWE. Taken over WWE entirely, I should say. Not from WWE. They're still involved. Don't we know it? But, yeah, SummerSlam Night 1 was okay. We'll run through the matches. We'll go through what happened. The run-ins, Randy Orton. Thought it was pretty good. A little short, but nice to know he's back. I'm sure we'll get a follow-up on the Raw or the SmackDown after SummerSlam. But so far, so good in that sense. But there were some issues with this show in the presentation of it, in my opinion. There wasn't a lot of backstage segments. And I used to like the way that we'd get PLEs back in the day, you know. If you go onto Netflix, if you're in the UK or Europe, you'll be able to go back and, you know, watch all the old SummerSlams, all the old WrestleManias, all the old PLEs or the PPVs, the pay-per-views as they were called back then. And there used to be a real variety of stuff happening on the show. And for some reason, and I didn't mind it at first, I just didn't realise it was going to run the entirety of the show. We just kept getting these pictures in between each match of past SummerSlam moments with the year on the bottom of the frame. And as I say, when it first opened, I thought it was okay. I thought, oh, this is cool. Yeah. Reminding us of all these great moments that have happened in previous SummerSlam matches, you know. But it lasted the whole night. And that was all we got. It was very much match, and then let's have a look what happened before. Match, let's have a look what happened before. Match, let's look what happened before. And for me, this whole evening was just a little bit stop-start. Now, obviously, we're going to get into the matches, and the matches as well were okay. Some were better than others, granted. I mean, that's going to happen anyway. Some were quite short. One of them I thought should have been longer and should have been better, to be honest with you. But there are still some good takeaways from it. But let's run through the card. Let's run through what happened. SummerSlam Night 1, coming straight out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the US Bank Stadium. Now, I missed kind of like the first, 5 minutes of this. So I turned it on and the Bellas were coming out with Paige. So I kind of missed the opening. But it does say here that Vaughn Evelyn Levesque, daughter of Triple H, Paul Levesque, and Stephanie McMahon, sung God Bless America to open the show, or at the end of the pre-show. So, it's nothing I'm going to go back and watch. Now, speaking of attendance, I saw a video earlier today with a fan in the crowd filming the triple tag team match with Solo, Royce, and LA, and the Usos and Jacob. And the opposite side, so cam side, behind the entire camera was topped off. This is SummerSlam, man. This is one of the biggest PLEs of the year. And you can't even sell it out. I know that we've had this. But please, surely that sends you a message. Surely. They called it a capacity crowd. WrestleTix apparently listed the venue as being set up for 36,258 with 35,759 tickets sold. The peak capacity for the US Bank Stadium is 73,000. SummerSlam Saturday of last year at the MetLife Stadium sold 50,493 tickets. So 14,000 people have decided, nah, it's not for me. But the fans don't know anything. Well, they're the ones that are making the money for the company. And your product isn't good enough. The build hasn't been good enough. But anyway, let's get onto these matches. Before I go onto a rant about Triple H and his words again, he just says things. He needs to stop saying things. First match of the night. I'll go through my predictions as well. Obviously, I think I got quite a lot wrong, to be fair. But as I said, I was kind of going for a little bit of fantasy booking in there as well. Things I wanted to happen, and 9 times out of 10, things that I actually want to happen in WWE don't happen. The fun option is too risky, so we get the safe option. But the first match that we had was Liv Morgan versus Io Sky for the Women's World Championship. I had predicted that Io Sky would win. I believe that Liv Morgan's run was not good, as I'm sure a lot of other people did. But Liv Morgan defeated Io Sky in 13 minutes and 35 seconds to retain the Women's World Championship. And overall, I enjoyed this match. It was very good. It was as good as I had expected it to be, with Io Sky being in it. And that isn't to take away from Liv Morgan. She's the world champion. She's very good in her own right. But the last few PLEs we've had, women's matches, singles matches, triple threats, they have delivered. They've over-delivered. And I wouldn't say this one over-delivered, but it was very entertaining. And I feel that Io Sky carried the match. I do, a little bit. You know, again, it's not taken away from Liv Morgan. I'm not her biggest fan, but Io Sky is an all-rounder. And I think had this been with someone else, it probably wouldn't have been as good. Don't get me wrong, there's a few people. I'm still waiting for Naomi to come back, I've got to be honest with you. And when she does, that will mix it back up again. Stephanie, again, I think she would have had a great match with Stephanie, as we've already seen, obviously. But yeah, Io carried this for me. So let's just go through the match. We'll pick out some moments here. See what they've got to say about it. So Liv Morgan performed the Three Amigos during the opening minutes, and Cole noted that it was a tribute to Eddie, as it always is. The stadium is within walking distance from the hotel where he died. Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. But Io Sky took control and went up top. Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez showed up. Of course they did. And one of them distracted the ref while the other shoved Sky off the ropes. Now, I know we've already had this match, but Liv couldn't win clean. And that is something I think we have to take into note. I mean, it plays into her character anyway. She wouldn't have won clean any other time. She wouldn't win clean again. But it's something to note. It's definitely something to hang on to there. And I think that's ammunition for Io if this does carry on. I think she'll be back. But Io Sky rallied again and took out Perez and Rodriguez with a dive to the floor. Moments later, Sky performed a Spanish fly from the top rope on Morgan before covering her for a near fall. Absolutely love that move. Sky performed a backbreaker, which always looks brutal. Am I the only one? Looks like that's one of them ones that you can't help but get hurt from. Liv Morgan rolled into the corner of the ring, and Sky went for the bullet train, but she moved out of the way. Sky hit Morgan with her own Oblivion finisher for a good near fall. Yeah, it's very cool here to see Io do the Oblivion. Nailed it. Sky went for an over the moonsault, but she landed on her feet when Morgan moved, and Sky sold ankle pain. Morgan jumped from the middle rope and hit the code breaker for a 2 count, and Sky dodged Oblivion and then suplexed Morgan onto the apron. Io performed a bullet train with Morgan against the post, and Sky sold knee pain. So yeah, it was good how they were kind of playing on the injury or the potential injuries in the match. It's perfect opener for Liv to kind of work that throughout the match, and obviously it's another excuse, I suppose. If we follow this match up, Io will say, well, I was injured. Oh, I was hurt during that match. Plus, you had help. So maybe we need a rematch. I can see it coming. Sky went for the over the moonsault, but Morgan put her feet up, and Morgan went for the Oblivion, but Sky blocked it. Morgan followed up with a code breaker and then hit her Oblivion finisher, and Morgan covered Sky for the 3 count. Yeah, overall, good match. Good opener. Pretty strong. Was it my favourite match of the night? Not really. But this is overall, I wasn't as excited with night one after watching it. I've got to be honest. Like I say, at its moments, which WWE love. They love their moments at the moment. But yeah, solid match. Liv Morgan and Io was solid. I can't complain. Let's see what they've written here. A strong opener. I could have done without the outside interference, but at least it didn't play a part in the finishing sequence. Yeah, that's true. The stadium looks great. They have an impressive stage, and the sections they are showing looked packed. Yeah, the sections they're showing looked packed. Well, that's the idea, isn't it? If anyone's paid for a ticket over the other side, they just move everybody round so that it looks packed. The stage looked okay. Still doesn't have anything on sort of pre-2020, let's say. When they used to go all out with their pay-per-view stages, which made it feel like more of a spectacle, and it kind of still did, don't get me wrong. Still get a really, really large ramp, but we don't get anything as, in your face or over the top as what we used to get, and that's what wrestling was all about, I loved it, but hey, a good match to start the night, and we go backstage, we see Jay talking with Jimmy in their dressing room, and Jacob Fatu was pacing behind them before a bunch of ads, of course. And the interesting thing, before we get to this second match, LA Knight, Solo and Royce versus Jacob, Jimmy and Jay in the six-man tag match, is that we had this opener, and it was Gears of War, basically, the PlayStation or the Xbox game. And it was integrated. And I know they've done this before. They've done it a few years ago, or a year ago, with Eric and Ivar coming out. I think it was a WrestleMania, and they had, what was it? It was like Clash of Titans or something, and they dressed up like the characters. And we kind of had a similar thing here, and this just fucking annoys me. Like, what place does Gears of War have in WWE? It's just a money-making tool. Again, it just fuck off. Like, it's so distracting. When you got all this gear bullshit happening beforehand, it just didn't need to be there for me personally. And Fatu came out with a werewolf mask that looked like something from a joke shop. It was, it wasn't great with these video game themed entrances, to be honest with you. But we'll move on to this match. LA Knight, Solo Sikoa and Royce Keys versus Jacob Fatu, Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso in a six-man tag team match. And LA Knight, Solo Sikoa and Royce Keys defeated the Usos and Jacob Fatu in 11 minutes. And I enjoyed this match. It was decent. Yeah, I really had a good time with this. And Solo, again, absolutely nailing it on the stage that he should be nailing it on. Running it back with the yeet and everything like that. Trust me, I said it twice, I'll say it again. Invest in the stocks, people. Trust me, Solo is going places, man. And he absolutely delivered. And with a win as well. I mean, you can't knock it. It just was a great match at the end of the day. It wasn't the result that I thought it was going to be. I obviously thought that the Usos and Jacob Fatu would win this to sort of be, the heavies, the backup to Roman maybe on the second night. And maybe they still will. But they've now got to explain why they failed the task that he had set them. But let's run through the match here. Fatu tagged in, charged Solo, who put him down with a Samoan drop. Solo mugged for the hard camera, while Fatu popped up. Yeah, there was a good moments there. It was almost very cinematic match with AJ Styles and Undertaker. Some of those shots I've seen floating around on X already. The memes have started, people. The memes have started. But Fatu put Solo down with a Samoan drop of his own. A short time later, Keys tagged in and took several super kicks from Jimmy, and Keys came back and stood on the second rope and eventually performed a twisting slam on Jimmy. Good, highlight reel here for Royce Keys as well. I'm glad he's getting a lot more match time. I hope this continues. I think that he is totally worth the push. I think he's great. He looks the part. He's got the right attitude. The storyline is in the vortex, obviously, with the Bloodline at the moment, as are the other two. But yeah, I'd be pushing Royce Keys for sure after this. Knight took a hot tag while Jey Uso also tagged in. Knight put down both Usos, then hit Jey with a big elbow drop. Knight kicked Fatu off the apron and went for his finisher, but Jey shoved him into the ropes and speared him for a near fall. Knight came back and superplexed Jey, but Jimmy hit Knight with an Uso splash. Solo performed a spinning solo on Jimmy, and Fatu hit an Impaler DDT on Solo. Everyone was kind of getting their special moves out in this. I did like it. It was a nice showcase for all 6 of these guys. Fatu turned into a spine buster from Keys. Again, brilliant. Love it. Moments later, Fatu charged Keys on the floor, but Keys powerbombed him into the timekeeper's area, and they were kind of out. That was it. Them done. But in the ring, Jay speared Knight and then tagged Jimmy, who performed another Uso splash on Knight for a near fall. The Uso set up for the 1D, but Solo took out Jimmy with a Samoan spike, and Knight hit a distracted Jay with one of the best sold BFTs I've seen. He landed straight on the top of his head. It looked really, really good. So fair play to Jay and Knight for that one. And then, he got the pin. And after the match, Solo wanted a hug. And there was a bit of friendly banter between the guys there. And again, we didn't get the turn. And, like I said yesterday, that as much as I predicted the turn over these last few weeks, having seen Solo in these last few weeks as well, it doesn't make sense. Capitalize on what you have here with Solo. The fans are into it. People loving him. I know that WWE fumble this shit all the fucking time, but there's something here with Solo, and I think that turning him would have just been a waste. So, good result, good match. I liked it. It was very enjoyable. I liked, like I said, that we got the showcase of kind of everybody here, and I think the right result. I'm glad these guys won at the end of the day. But let's see what they've written here. There's only so much excitement I can muster up for a fairly meaningless 6-man tag match, but everyone worked hard. Like the build I've said, it was like the most shown build, I think, out of any match leading up to SummerSlam, but the match was enjoyable nonetheless. Solo looks like he's having a blast as a babyface, and the fans are getting behind him. Fuck yeah, man. I mean, I'm totally here for it. Love Solo, think he's the best on the mic, so if we can get more sarcastic Solo, I'll take it all day long. But after this match, Gunther was shown walking backstage. Cole said Nick Aldis would have his first match in 3 years when he faces Gunther next, and they went to more ads. And Gunther then made his entrance, setting us up for our third match of the night. Gunther versus Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis, he came out with his ring jacket and a white towel around his neck, and he had Morning Glory. What's the story, Morning Glory? Oasis song. Did not expect that. I got to be honest with you. I know the song very well, but I thought he would have some sort of like retro tune. I don't know if that was his theme before. I don't know. Was it? Can someone confirm that? I'm not too sure. I don't know what it was, as I've mentioned before. I didn't watch any matches before this, but fucking hell, I was impressed. I was impressed with this match. And Nick Aldis, man, you done yourself proud. You done your wife and your kids proud, man. Obviously, Mickie James was there, his wife. I thought this match was really bloody good. And props to Gunther as well, because he just sells so well. He's such a good guy to be in the ring with. Like, he's much like Io. Like, anyone can go in the ring with him and just look fucking good. But he played to the crowd, and everyone was cheering for him, and it was fucking brilliant. And as much as I wanted Nick Aldis to win, unfortunately, he didn't. And Gunther beat Nick Aldis in 11 minutes 40, but fuck me. Nick was great in this match. Seriously pulling out some moves. Looked like he hadn't missed a step. There was a little bit at the beginning where he kind of, nerves are going to get to you, man. It's been a minute. He's been the fucking GM for 3 years. Do you know what I mean? He just comes out and talks and does his bits and his skits and all that kind of stuff. And, he's actually having to show the WWE universe his work. And there's going to be people out there like me that haven't ever seen Nick Aldis wrestle. And we saw the CVV interview a couple of days ago and how much it meant to him to go out there and have the opportunity, and that he hoped the fans would be behind him and just give him the opportunity to, at least showcase his skills, even if it was, one last match. But he was brilliant. And much like the fans chanted, "Let's go Aldis," and "You deserve it," or "You've still got it," is what they chanted. I absolutely agree. But let's run through the match here. They've said Aldis looked the part physically in terms of his physical appearance. Well, yeah, that's what that means. Yeah, he did. Absolutely. He looked jacked as fuck. He looked awesome. And I actually liked his outfit. There was flashes of last night. I thought if he could come back full time, it would be like we had William Regal again. I know they're very different, but just the way that he presented with this very British look, that would have been cool if he'd have stuck around. But they opened with a lock, and Gunther took him down with a side headlock. And the Let's Go Aldis chant broke out. And moments later, Gunther exited the ring, climbed onto the broadcast table, and held his arms up while the fans booed. And back in the ring, Aldis performed a suplex and covered Gunther for the 2 count. Aldis went for his King's Lynn Cloverleaf finisher, but Gunther avoided it. Cole called it the King's Lynn Cloverleaf and said it's named after the town in England, where Nick Aldis is from. Mickie James, as I've said, and their son were in the crowd, and Gunther was giving it to them outside, and he jumped back in the ring and fired away with some chops to Nick's chest. Aldis went for the Cloverleaf again, but Gunther avoided it, and Cole said the name of the Cloverleaf is a mouthful. Well, King's Lynn Cloverleaf, it's a bit of a tongue twister. A short time later, Aldis superplexed Gunther, and the "You Still Got It" chant broke out. Fucking hell yeah, man. You still have it, absolutely. Aldis performed a running power slam for a near fall. Aldis went up top and had to jump over Gunther, who then went for a big boot that Aldis avoided. Aldis put Gunther down with a body slam before executing a top rope elbow drop and followed up with another top rope elbow drop and then applied the Cloverleaf. Finally, Gunther eventually reached the ropes, drawing some boos from the fans, and he shoved Aldis into the corner and went for a sleeper, but Aldis reversed it. Gunther broke the hold with a suplex and eventually hooked in another sleeper while both men were on the mat. Cole called for Aldis to tap out and end it. I don't know why he would say that, but Aldis got to his feet. Gunther took him down while maintaining the hold, and Aldis tapped out. And that's the only thing I think that is a shame. I think that he tapped. I don't think he should have tapped. I think he should have just passed out. And I don't think there's any shame in tapping. I mean, look, Cena tapped. Obviously that was a little bit different in the circumstances. But AJ passed out. And, I think Aldis should have passed out so that Gunther has nothing to say. Yeah, all right, you made him pass out. But he didn't tap. But yeah, I loved this match. I was really, really looking forward to seeing Nick Aldis back in the ring and just watching a Gunther Nick Aldis match, to be honest with you, because we believe in Gunther. We trust Gunther, mate, to give us a good match, and he fucking delivered. They both did. So I just want to give a smattering to Nick Aldis because he fucking deserves it, man. But after the match, the announcers told the story of Gunther underestimating Aldis. And Gunther left the ring and then stopped on the stage, raised his arms, fucked off out the back. And Aldis was down on one knee with a ref. And everybody just got behind him, just cheered. He got to his feet, looked to the crowd. The fans responded with a standing ovation and a "You Still Got It" chant. Mickie James and his son joined him in the ring. And it was a really, really nice ending to the match, to be honest with you. So far, so good. It was, the matches were decent, but in between each of these matches, we're getting that flashback again. We're going back to, here's what happened, and then we might get a little string of adverts, a little SmackDown music going on with the superstars and everything like that. But it was just, I feel like the time could have been used a little bit better in those moments. But hey, look, let's not dwell on it. They've said here that was fun and clearly lived up to fan expectations despite Aldis' long layoff. Hopefully it leads to Aldis getting a regular run as a wrestler if that's what he's looking for. That's what I was hoping. There's since been a video that's come out with Nick Aldis handing his resignation to Triple H, and Triple H saying, you both did a good job, you both got your shit out on the table and you sorted it out. And he tears the resignation up and says, see you on Friday. Basically, we've got work to do. So Nick Aldis is back as GM, but I'm sure he's more than thankful for that opportunity because, hell, he made the most of it, man. He fucking did. And, it was brilliant. But then we move on to our fourth match of the night, and it is Fatal Influence. Jacy Jayne, Fallon Henley, and Lainey Reed versus Brie Bella, Nikki Bella, and Paige in a 6-woman tag. And this went exactly how we predicted. Fatal Influence defeats Brie Bella, Nikki Bella, and Paige in 7 minutes and 30 seconds in a 6-woman tag. And could have been a bit longer. It wasn't the most exciting match personally, but we did get the I want to say the turn. It was a turn, But as I've said, I thought Nikki was already heel anyway. But hey, look, we got the turn of Nikki and Brie, both of them, taking out Paige for Paige taking the pin. It's exactly how we called it. So no surprise there. Let's just run through the match here quickly. Brie was down at ringside while the referee was tied up with her partners, and Reed stomped Brie's head on the ring steps. JC Jane hit Brie with a cannonball against the steps, and Brie clutched her shoulder, and there was like a bit of a scare of an injury. As she was walking away, she was clutching her shoulder. So maybe the follow-up from this won't be in the tag division, but there's every room for Nikki versus Paige in the singles category. So maybe they can follow up there, and that kind of fast-forwards Paige into the singles picture. So I'm not mad about it. Jane rolled Brie back inside the ring and performed a senton that resulted in a 2 count, and Brie was isolated. She tossed Jane out of the ring, but Reed entered the ring and cut off her path to her corner. Brie threw a weak clothesline before falling to the mat and clutching her shoulder again. Nikki tagged in, got the better of all 3 of them, and hit Reed with an X Factor and covered her for a near fall. A short time later, the Bellas set up for a heart attack clothesline on Reed, but Henley pulled Brie to the floor to break it up. Fallon Henley was then tagged in, and then she and Reed performed a double team move on Nikki and had her beat, but Paige broke up the pin. Henley yelled at the quiet crowd, the quiet crowd exactly, and got a tame response. Paige tagged in and got the better of Jane for a moment, and Henley distracted Paige from the floor, causing her to walk into Jane's rolling encore, and JC Jane covered Paige and pinned her for the win. So as I said, this wasn't the most exciting match. The build was okay. I am excited to see where Fatal Influence go. I enjoy them. I really like JC Jane. I like all 3 of them together, to be fair. But yeah, unfortunate if Brie is injured. I don't really know what we do from there. There's the women's tag team division's running a little thin at the moment. But as I say, maybe we can have some singles bouts between them, as we have done in the last few weeks, sort of picking members of Fatal Influence to go up against Nikki and Paige potentially, or something like that. But it says here, after Fatal Influence left the ring, the Bellas both hugged Paige. Nikki then clotheslined Paige, and Brie, who was still holding her right shoulder, kicked her while she was on the floor. Cole noted that Nikki targeted Paige's surgically repaired neck, and she hit Paige with the Rack Attack 2.0 and said, "The real Bellas are back. The bitches are back." Yeah, I noticed that with the neck thing. I said this the other week about Paige and AJ Lee, actually. Obviously, they've had very similar injuries, and I always winced when both of them were in the ring getting slammed on the back of their head. Because you just don't know. It's so volatile. You don't know when it's just going to go pop. Everybody's heard the Lex Luger story. Guy turned his neck. Paralysed, mate. It's fucking scary. Anything can happen. So they're taking a real risk, them two, being in the ring, especially Paige, being as active as she has been. And that particular move was a bit... I know that they wouldn't hurt each other, but it was a bit risky. And I thought, you bend that the wrong way, and it could go wrong. So... I'm hoping that Paige is okay and she can carry on. But they've written here, this was rough, and the live crowd was quiet throughout. I'm not sure if the spot against the ring steps injured Brie or if it had happened beforehand, but she was clearly hurting the rest of the way. Here's wishing her the best. I don't think it was rough. It was not the best match of the night. It was probably at the bottom of the pile at this point. But it served its purpose. Bellas are back as a twosome, and Paige hopefully is free now, free as a bird to go off into the singles picture. So then we got a video package of AAA Triple Mania Night 1. That's over 2 nights as well now, or was it already over 2 nights? I'm sure someone said that before, that it already was. Maybe I made that up. I don't know. But we then move on to our 5th match of the night. CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. And I thought this was going to be the main event, and it wasn't. I'd heard that it was for weeks. That's what I thought it was being built up to be. But no. Apparently, from what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was changed. Very last minute to make Oba Brock the main event. I'm not mad about it because the last two matches of the night were fucking great. So, yeah. Well, I say they were fucking great, but there are a few issues here and there. But we'll go through the match. We'll go through the entrances in particular. This had a similar problem in the same sense where it was advertising something like the Triple Man Tag. However, and call me a hypocrite, I don't give a shit. This one was cool. I fucking thought this was awesome, this beginning. So let's just go through how this match started. Cody Rhodes had a Street Fighter entrance that included clips of him from the movie and listed him and CM Punk as opponents in the video game. And the Street Fighter music played as Cody was elevated onto the stage wearing his usual Nightmare helmet, but it had the spiked blonde hair on the top like the character in the movie. I actually don't know the name of the character he's playing. I will go and see the film. I am looking forward to it. But yeah, it was a really cool entrance. It went through like the character selection screen on Street Fighter. It was all like in 16-bit graphics and things like that. They had the two different outfits, so you can change what version of Cody you wanted. You could, essentially play as the character from the movie or play as Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. Obviously, it chose the American Nightmare, and then kind of we went into the entrance, and Cody came up as he usually does with the mask. And I'm not always a big fan of that mask. I do think it's a bit much, a bit Triple H. I couldn't stand when Triple H done that. The King of Kings thing. I couldn't. It was so over the top, and I thought, "Oh, get a load of yourself, mate." You're just egotistical all day long. For me, a little bit. It's a little bit like that with Cody, but I don't see Cody in the same light as Triple H at all. But it went through this entrance, and his regular entrance theme played afterwards. Cody brought the helmet to the ring and set it on the apron while he posed on the ropes. And CM Punk was shown walking backstage with the Minnesota North Stars inspired gear with the number 20 on the back. Punk walked onto the stage without music and did the clobbering time bit, and then the music started playing, and he headed to the ring. I thought it was a really, really cool entrance, but let's get into the match. Before we do, let's find out the outcome. And it was CM Punk retaining and defeating Cody Rhodes in 30 minutes and 10 seconds. Wow, I didn't realise it was that long, but it was a pretty meaty match. I'm not going to lie to you. Do I think it's the right result going forward? I mean, look, I'm neither here nor there. I had predicted that Cody would win because of their, WWE sort of wanting to build Cody up. I'm sure there's plenty of time for that. We still have the Raw and SmackDown after SummerSlam Night 2. Did think that there would be a heel turn, and there wasn't. So there was only one heel turn, really, this evening, and it was Nikki and Brie, I suppose you could count that as two. But let's go through the match here. Now, it was quite a long match, and there were quite some good moments in here. So we'll kind of highlight the best parts rather than me reading through the entire match, because it was a very long one. Punk worked over Cody in the corner and he signalled for the GTS. Punk tried to hoist him up, but Cody stuffed it. Cody picked up Punk for an Alabama slam and spun around several times, which was a bit strange. But Punk slipped away and reapplied the Anaconda Vice. And there was a couple of these through the match, which was really good. And we had some issues with the knees and the joints, and kind of these guys were putting themselves through it. And I'm glad that they did. I'm glad that this match ended up being a good match, in my opinion. It wasn't one of the best that they've either had in recent times, personally. But ultimately, considering the build that we got, I thought that this match sold me. As I was watching it, I was in it. And it was a brilliant effort from both wrestlers. And it definitely, papered the cracks that were in the build, that's for sure. But Cody came back with a crossroads and covered Punk for a good near fall. And Cody had Punk on the top rope facing the crowd when he went up behind him. Punk threw elbows until Cody fell to the mat. And Punk, I want to say he hit a moonsault, because it was terrible. It was not a good moonsault. And You'd like to think that they practice these things before they put them out in these matches, but I kind of feel like this was a little bit of a spontaneous spot, if I'm honest. They're both pros. They can probably call it as they go. Not the entire match, not a half-hour match, I would have thought. There's probably some structure there, of course. But this particular moment I thought was interesting. Yeah, it didn't even land on Cody. Didn't even land on him. And then kind of laughed about it. And it was caught on camera, which was funny. But both men fought in the middle of the ring after, and Punk eventually hit the GTS. And Punk sold his knee and was slow to cover Cody, who kicked out at the last moment. So again, playing on the knee sort of injuries and the injuries that they're picking up in these matches, or in this match, sorry. Cody rolled to the floor. Punk followed and slammed Cody's head on one of the broadcast tables a few times, and Punk cleared the top of the desk. But Cody shoved him into the ring steps. Cody broke the referee's count and cleared the English broadcast table and shoved Punk back inside the ring and then joined him. But Punk immediately hit him with a GTS and covered Cody, who grabbed the rope at 2. They both ended up on the floor. Punk placed Cody on the top of the English broadcast table and returned to the ring, fired up before going up top. He went for an elbow drop, but Cody rolled right out the way, causing Punk to crash for it and tumble hard to the floor. And this was a fucking hit. He went bang straight through that table. And he did look, he was out cold. He was out cold. And I liked that after, when Cody had recovered, he went to go and pick Punk up and sort of dragged him. And Punk was like flopping all over the show, you know, like really selling the this is where we're putting all of our cards on the table here, you know. It was great work. And then after that, we got the "This is awesome" chant breaking out before it obviously dropped off. Cody dragged Punk into the ring and went up top and attempted a Cody cutter, but Punk moved and Cody crashed into the ref, and we got the ref bump. Of course we did. We kind of knew something was going to happen there. But Punk performed a GTS on Cody and the referee was down, and Cody came back with a crossroads and Punk rolled out of the ring. And then Randy Orton, out of nowhere, entered the ring and dropped Cody with the RKO. And broadcast team agreed that Punk was unaware of what Orton did. Yeah, it looked like it. Punk returned to the ring, used the ropes to pull himself to his feet while the referee started to wake up. Punk hit Cody with the GTS and covered him. And the woozy referee, Charles Robinson, made a very slow 3 count. And yeah, brilliant little ending here to this match. Half an hour. I didn't realise it was that long. I guess I was just into it, man. You know, I was feeling it. It was a pretty decent match, and you know, maybe this should have been the main event. Maybe it should. I know we had the spectacle of the Hell in the Cell to come, but thinking back to last night, I'm thinking this might have been the better match. But we'll get onto that in a moment. Punk celebrated his win with Orton nowhere in sight. Yeah, he was in, out, little wink to the camera, and he fucked off. And let's just see what they've written here. Punk's moonsault was scary because it looked like Cody saw he was going to miss, moved closer, and Punk either came close or did land on Cody's head. Yeah, I think he kind of skimmed his head a little bit. But yeah, it was fucking terrible either way. Either way, Cody seemed okay. It wasn't always pretty, but this was a good, dramatic match. I wasn't expecting a clean finish in the first Punk versus Cody match to begin with. It seemed even less likely when it was slotted as the semi-main event. Is that what we're calling it? Orton returning for the first time since WrestleMania and costing Cody the match was logical. Barring a heel turn, I imagine the way Punk won won't sit well with his character, meaning we could be headed toward an eventual triple threat. However, I've also seen this sort of interview on the post show with Punk, and he's calling out Cody's dad, Bob Orton, Cowboy Bob Orton. He's calling out his mum, not Cody, sorry, Randy. He's calling out Randy's dad, Randy's mum, Randy himself. So yeah, I think that we're probably going to head towards maybe definitely a Punk Randy at some point, which would be really cool. But yeah, I could see a triple threat happening. That would be good. That would be interesting. Keeps Cody in there, which I know that WWE can't do without. But a triple threat with them three in it, man, I'll be licking my lips to that one. That sounds like a very enticing match. And Money in the Bank, potentially. Yeah, I'm here for it. I am here for it. But after that, we get the main events. And it's Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi in the Hell in the Cell match. And I got to be honest with you. I was anticipating this match to be an all-timer. I was anticipating this match to be potentially the match that could make Oba. I know he's already very popular. I know that he is over. But I thought this would be a game changer. I think it could still be a game changer for Oba, pushing him onto new heights, even bigger heights than what he already has. But this match was underwhelming for a Hell in a Cell match. They hardly used the cell. They were outside for about 5 minutes, and then they ran back in, and that was it. They didn't go outside, they didn't climb it, it didn't end up... Like, so much stuff could have happened in this match. If I was, planning this evening, how long did we have? Let's have a look. 11 minutes. We had a half an hour Cody and Punk match and an 11-minute main event in a Hell in a Cell match. Either swap the matches or allocate more time to the Hell in the Cell. 20 minutes each. 20 minutes for Cody Punk, 20 minutes for Oba Brock. That's what I would have done. Now, we had a load of mad shit happening in this fucking match. We had the ring being torn up. We had fucking tombstone pole drivers, amongst some other things, about 17 F5s. But overall, underwhelming. I've got to be honest with you. It was underwhelming, man. And I was anticipating the Punk Cody match to be the main event, and I think had we had swapped the two matches, it would have turned out better. I've got to be honest with you. I don't agree with putting the Hell in the Cell as the main event. It didn't need to be, just because it's Hell in a Cell. You didn't even use the cell, really. Could have just been a singles or a straight fight or no DQ or something like that. Would have been probably more interesting. We got a table, obviously, but yeah, was a little disappointed. I haven't heard what other people have really had to say about it at the moment, but let's run through the match here anyway. Oba caught Lesnar with a kick, and Lesnar avoided a charging Oba, who crashed into the corner. Lesnar performed 3 German suplexes, and Oba popped right up and clotheslined Lesnar over the top rope to the floor. And that's another thing I don't like. I cannot deal with the no-sell. I can't deal with it, guys. Like, Oba Femi is not a monster. He's a person. Like, at least... Like, I know that we made Brock look strong. I mean, we know fucking Brock's strong. We already know that. But I found it ridiculous how he just got up. Like, he just got up from the tombstone pole driver. He just walked. Like, fuck off. Give us something. This isn't 1985. This isn't Hulk Hogan charging up, or Ultimate Warrior shaking the fists. We're not at that point anymore. What are you trying to give us here? Are you trying to, give us this fantasy? Oh, he's Jesus, mate. He can just get up at any moment. Or are you trying to give us this realistic match with someone like Brock Lesnar, who I believe does take his craft seriously? Yeah, that really annoyed me. Really, really annoyed me. Oba ran Lesnar into the ring steps. He pulled out a table from underneath the ring, leaned it against the cage wall, and ran Lesnar into the table against the cage. Okay. Oba threw a chair inside the ring. So we're back in the ring already. That was the spot that we had. That was it. Oba threw the chair, into the ring and tossed it at Lesnar when they were back inside. And Brock picked up half of the ring steps and battered Oba with them once he returned to the ring. Good sell from Oba there. I'll give him that. Brock was not holding back. Lesnar performed another German suplex and then slammed the chair over Oba's back twice. He suplexed Oba into the chair, went for an F5, but Oba slipped away and then slammed Lesnar back to the mat. Both men were down for a moment and then stood up at the same time. Oba threw several body shots at Lesnar and hit Lesnar with a couple of running uppercuts in a corner of the ring. Lesnar cut him off on the third uppercut and went for the F5, but Oba slipped away and put Lesnar down with a chokeslam. Oba hit the fall from grace for a near fall, and Cole said doubt might be creeping into Oba's mind. Yeah, I mean, parts of this match I liked, and parts of it I didn't, for the sake of it being a Hell in a Cell, just personally. But let's carry on. Lesnar sat up and laughed at Oba, then stood up and performed a pair of F5s. Barrett asked what the hell is going on. Lesnar hit a third F5, went for the pin, but Oba kicked out. Lesnar looked surprised while Cole said doubt might be creeping into his mind, and he picked up a chair and slammed it over Oba's back several times. And then he started to tear the mat open. Yeah, he tore the canvas and the padding back, and when we got exposure to the wooden boards underneath. Again, I thought they could have used this more. It was used for one move, which don't get me wrong, was a cool throwback. It was a little homage to The Undertaker and the history between Lesnar and The Undertaker. I appreciate that. I do. But I just thought that we could have had more. This could have been more brutal. We could have had blood. We could have had a really legendary match. And I think this is about as legendary as we're going to get in this era of WWE. I've got to be honest with you. But Lesnar let out a war cry while Cole said that he was out for blood, even though we got none. Lesnar hoisted Oba up and gave him a tombstone pile driver on the exposed boards, and Lesnar folded Oba's arm across his chest, Undertaker style. Oba kicked out at 2 and then just got up. Honestly, it's very frustrating. Appear fatigued, man. You're not The Undertaker. The Undertaker's gimmick was running for so long, he was meant to be the dead man, for Christ's sake. It's almost a fantasy character. Oba Femi, you're just a big dude. You're meant to be like Brock. Didn't like it. Didn't like that. Didn't appreciate that at all. You've just undersold one of the darkest moves in WWE history by just getting up. And you've just basically undersold Brock Lesnar doing that thing as well. It just overshadowed what had just happened in that split second after, with him just getting up and Cole jumping on it and going, oh my God, he's not human and all this. And yeah, annoyed me. But after that, Barrett said that Oba Femi is not a human being, and Lesnar wound up with the chair, but Oba punched it away, hit Brock with a fall from grace and pinned him. And that was a bit of a short ending for me. We've already had a fall from grace in this match, and you've just had a pile driver from Brock. You've hit the fall from grace again, and he's got the pin already, and it wasn't even on the wood. It was kind of next to the wood, and Brock had a little look when he landed, yeah. Did I hate this match? I didn't. Is there about 20 bags of potential sitting at the fucking top of the stage? Yeah, there is. Yeah, simple as that. Again, I don't put this down to the guys in the ring, but I just don't think it was good enough for a SummerSlam main event, to be honest with you. 10 minutes, mate. This build-up has been going on for weeks. You're giving us 10 minutes, and we had a lesser build-up for the match before and got half hour. Ugh. Anyways, yeah. After the match, kind of Brock looked a bit tearful. And I was questioning whether this was it. We thought we had it at WrestleMania. It wasn't. And I thought maybe this is it now. This is the end of Brock and my childhood, basically. But I don't know. He basically came into the ring and Oba was about to walk out, and he sort of said, come back in here, and he got a mic, and he just basically, it was like a passing of the torch, I suppose. He said that I'm the past, Oba's the future. They shook hands, they hugged it out, and it was a nice ending to the show. It's very positive and good vibes and all that, after this slugger of a match. Again, that could have been more of a slugger of a match in my opinion, but ultimately I'm happy that they ended it that way. It was respect, and if Lesnar is putting Oba over, then I have to, give thanks and accept Oba, essentially, because, I've thought that Oba was a little bit forced down our throats to begin with, and I don't doubt his ability in ring or on mic, but he's not Brock. It's just not. He's not a beast incarnate. He doesn't have the same impact as Brock when he came in, because no one had ever seen anyone like Brock Lesnar. No one will ever see anyone like Brock Lesnar again. He's once in a generation, or sorry, as Paul Heyman would say, once in a genre. But yeah, man. Yeah, what a legend. I hope we see him again. I really do. But if we don't, man, what a ride with Brock Lesnar. Man, what a career. What a career. But let's just see what they've written here. The main event was what it needed to be with Brock passing the torch to Oba. Yeah, okay. Gutted that Brock didn't win, but yeah, I see that. You know, I'm not stupid. I understand that. There wasn't much mystery regarding the outcome, but Lesnar put Oba over strong and then sang his praises afterwards. I'm not sure if Lesnar referring to himself as the past means he's finished. Yeah, that's kind of what I was implying just a moment ago. He tossed his gloves down, but he put the focus on Oba before leaving the ring. They didn't really make use of the Hell in the Cell structure, yeah, but it was another feather in Oba's cap to end Brock's Hell in a Cell undefeated streak. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that is also true. You know, and they didn't really highlight that, to be honest with you, that, you know, in the evening. They brought it up at the beginning that he had a streak. There was a package, you know, before this match came out. But, yeah, they didn't really talk about that much. I thought they would have made a bigger deal of that, but they didn't. It was more of a focus on putting Oba over. So I guess we'll see how we go from there. And yeah, I mean that wraps night 1 of SummerSlam. And let's just read what they've written here. Overall, a good night 1. It wasn't the most newsworthy show, but the key matches delivered. It was also nice that they were able to get through the 6-match show in little over 3 hours, despite all of the advertising in between matches. Night 1 looked better on paper than Night 2, so the big question is whether there's enough on Night 2 to close out the weekend on a high note. Yeah, it was not long at all. A little over 3 hours. I've got to be honest, I am kind of for the one-night PLEs. I'd bring it back. I'd bring back the 4.5, 5 hour show that we used to have. I think as well, if you're going to it, it's much more enjoyable to get everything on one night and have a big, lengthy, meaty fucking show. You're getting your money's worth, you know. But I understand from money-hungry TKO and WWE, well, I say they can sell double the amount of tickets. They really haven't. Over the 2 nights, they've sold a stadium's worth. One for one night, you know. But look, I thought it was okay. I enjoyed the evening. I think the main event and the what were they calling it? The semi-main event should have swapped. I have no issue seeing the Hell in a Cell before the main event. I really don't. And I thought the main event was lengthier, was longer. If the match was a little better, maybe there would be a stronger case for that. You know, if that was an all-timer, the Cody CM Punk match, it wasn't. It was good, don't get me wrong. There was a couple of little botches in there with the moonsault and things like that. And yeah, and again, there was no emotion in it really because the story kind of sucked. But now we have something to build from. And hopefully in the next few weeks leading up to Saturday night's main event and Money in the Bank, we actually get something good with the 2 of those, including Randy. Where do we go from here regarding Brock? I have no idea. I'd love to see him come back. I've heard rumours that he may finish his career at WrestleMania. But as I said before, Brock is the sort of guy that does what the fuck he wants. And I think that speech at the end was him doing exactly that. I don't think anyone asked him to do that. He just does what the fuck he wants. And I think that Brock doesn't have to retire. He doesn't have to retire like John Cena or AJ Styles or Goldberg and have a big old speech at the end of it. I think Brock comes the fuck back when he wants. He walks in there, tears bitches apart, and just does it as Brock Lesnar's always done it, being the beast incarnate. And I think that works. Let's just leave it on an open ending. You know, we don't need to see the end of everybody. Like, for years and years and years, we just had people, you know, going and coming back, and it was always kind of an open door back into WWE. But now it seems like we have to draw a line underneath it. And kind of, again, this is a little rant, I suppose. It plays into the fact of what I said before about TKO trying to erase what came before them and create this new version of WWE that has TKO fingerprints all over it, which is why they've retired all these guys. And I know that they have said themselves, a lot of them, that, you know, I'm ready to go and I'm ready to retire. My body can't take it anymore. But it's just funny how we've had these prominent retirements with lines, thick lines drawn underneath them saying, you will not come back, because we will give you this big send-off. And it just didn't used to really happen like that. And yeah, I don't think Brock needs to do any of that. I think he can walk in that goddamn door whenever the hell he wants. But before we finish the show, let's get on to our MVP of the night and our wooden turnbuckle of the night. Interesting. So MVP of the night, I think I am gonna give it to Oba Brock. And I'm gonna give it to Oba Brock because the ending of that match, the speech in itself, was emotional. It was heartfelt. I felt it, and I'm mainly giving it to the moment that the torch was passed. That was cool. I will remember that more than the match, to be honest with you. But I did like that. It was nice, and if it is the end for Brock, it is sad, but I don't think it is. But the wooden turnbuckle of the night has to go to CM Punk's moonsault. It was fucking awful. And again, I don't even think it was just called in the ring, basically. It was fucking awful. It was terrible. Please don't do moonsaults again, and just stick to what you're good at, Punk, you resilient motherfucker. But that's going to wrap us up for this episode. SummerSlam Night 1 2026 is in the books. And what do you think is going to happen on Night 2? My predictions are already out. They came out a couple of days ago, so if you're interested to know what I thought would happen on Night 1 and what I think will happen on Night 2, go back and listen to it. But I've been Luke. This has been WrestleVision. Thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed today's episode, tag yourself in by following WrestleVision on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening. You can also follow the show on Instagram at WrestleVision Podcast. But until then, WrestleVisionaries, take care, enjoy Night 2, and I'll catch you in the next episode.